Welcome to the React Smart TextArea tutorial. With the Syncfusion React Smart TextArea, you can easily manage multi-line text input and provide users with real-time sentence auto-completion. This enhances efficiency by suggesting entire sentences based on what they type. In this video, you will learn how to create a React application, configure an AI service, and add the Syncfusion React Smart TextArea component to the app, along with a few of its basic features. Before proceeding, make sure you have installed the latest versions of Node.js and React. I'll edit my code using Visual Studio Code and show the output in the Chrome browser. Additionally, you need an AI service that offers an API for communication, such as OpenAI, Microsoft Azure AI, or Google Cloud AI. Let's start the application creation process. I open Visual Studio Code and create a React application using the command npx, create React app, and name my project, my React app. As I want to add TypeScript, I select the template TypeScript option. Looking here, a React project with all the dependencies has been created. Next, let me navigate to the project folder. To use the React Smart TextArea component, I need to install the inputs package using the command npm install at syncfusion/ej2 react inputs -- save. The application is now ready to use. First, I register the trial license key to use Syncfusion components. I open the index.tsx file and import the register license method from the Syncfusion ej2 base package. Using this method, I register the trial license key. To learn how to generate this license key, refer to the link in the description below. The application is now configured to use Syncfusion components. Next, I will set up the AI service. Here, I am going to use Microsoft Azure AI. The required AI packages are already installed on the machine. To integrate AI with the component, I reference the Syncfusion Smart AI sample repository, which demonstrates how to seamlessly integrate AI models with Syncfusion components. Next, in the source folder, create a file named AI model ts. First, I need to import generated text from the AI package to generate AI responses. Then, I import Create Azure from its package, which is the development kit for integrating AI models. I create a constant named Azure and initialize it with the Create Azure function. Inside the function, I pass an object with two properties: resource name, which is the endpoint where each query request is sent, and API key, which is a unique key from Azure that authenticates the request and grants access to the API. After that, I define the AI model by calling Azure, the model named GPT-4o Mini. Now, I define an async function called getAzure chat AI request. I add an options object to pass messages with tuning parameters from the app. Next, I open a try block to safely handle any errors that occurred during the API call. Then, I call generate text and pass a configuration object. This object includes all the key parameters for the AI model, such as the model name, maximum output tokens, and stop sequences to control where the response ends. I return the result text, which contains the generated text string returned by the AI model. Next, I add a catch block. Inside catch, I log the error using the console error method. This gives instant feedback if anything goes wrong. Lastly, I return null so the code can detect failures and display an error message to the user. To add the Smart TextArea component with AI, I navigate to the app.tsx file and remove the default code. Next, I import Smart TextArea from the Syncfusion ej2 React inputs package. In the return statement, I add the component using the Smart TextArea component tag. Inside the tag, I set a placeholder text. Enter your text. Next, I navigate to the app CSS file and remove the default styles. Now, to add the CSS reference for the React Smart TextArea, I import the necessary CSS references and add a class named app with styles like margin and text alignment. I run the application using the npm start command. You can see the text area with the placeholder value. When I type more lines, they are not visible. To increase the number of visible lines, I use the rows and columns properties. I set rows to 6 and columns to 60. Now, the text area's height and width are increased as specified. Next, I'll add the user role property to the Smart TextArea. This enables you to provide content and suggestions relevant to different user roles. Set the user role property with the appropriate text value. This text specifies who is typing and the reason for typing. Additionally, to add the user phrases property, which is a collection of phrases commonly used by the user to enhance suggestions. I define a string array named default preset with phrases relevant to the user role. I then assign this variable to the user phrases property. Now, let me add an AI suggestion handler to the Smart TextArea. I import chat parameters from the React Inputs package. Then, I import the getAzure chat AI request from the AI model TS file. This function will use generate text based on the settings. Next, I define an asynchronous function, server AI request, which retrieves text from the server to display smart suggestions. I add the settings object of type chat parameters, which contains configurations for the AI request, such as messages, temperature, and maximum tokens. I initialize a local variable output to an empty string. This will hold the AI-generated suggestion. Then, I create a try-catch block. Inside the try block, create a constant response and call the getAzure chat AI request, passing the settings object to it. If the call is successful, I assign the generated text to output. This keeps my return payload simple and consistent. In the catch block, I log the error with console error to capture if the request failed due to any issue. Finally, I return the output. If successful, it returns the AI's suggested text. If unsuccessful, it returns an empty string. Then, I assign this method to the AI suggestion handler property in the component. You can see that when I start typing in the text area, it provides smart suggestions relevant to the user's role. Next, I add the Syncfusion React dropdown list to show smart suggestions for different user roles. I run the command npm install at syncfusion/ej2react dropdowns --save. Next, I import the dropdown list from the component package. I add a constant roles data and provide a set of user roles. These will be displayed in the drop-down menu where the user can select different roles. In the return statement, I have already created a division element with the class name container. Within this, I add a new division element for the header text with the class name header and the content. Select a role. Then, I add the drop-down component using the drop-down list component tag. I set the type to text and add a placeholder with the text. Select a role. Next, I add styles. Width set to 90% and pop-up height set to 200 pixels. Next, I bind the data source property with the roles data. In the app CSS file, to add the CSS reference for the React drop-down list, I import the necessary CSS reference and I add the required CSS styles to align the components. I run the application using the command npm start. See, the drop-down list is rendered at the top of the text area. However, when the user role is changed, the suggestions are not relevant to the selected role. To handle this scenario, I go to the code section, add a let variable named TextArea object, and assign the type Smart TextArea component, which will hold an instance of the component. Next, I define a variable preset with user roles and user phrases to update when the dropdown value changes. Then, create a function on change. Inside the function, I get the value of the selected item as selected role, find the corresponding preset value, and assign it to the selected preset. Now, I assign these selected roles and phrases to the user role, and user phrases properties of the Smart TextArea. In the dropdown list component, I bind the onChange function to the change property. Finally, in Smart TextArea, I use the ref property to add the component instance TextArea as an argument. Inside the callback, I assign that instance to the TextArea object. Now, the TextArea object holds a reference to the Smart TextArea component. When I select a customer support representative responding to customer queries and start typing in the TextArea, it displays suggestions relevant to that role. Similarly, selecting a sales representative who responds to client inquiries provides suggestions relevant to that role. In this video, I have shown you how to create a React app, add the Syncfusion React Smart TextArea component to it, and utilize a few of the component's basic features. To try out the example used in this video, download it from the GitHub link in the description. I have also shared a link to learn how to obtain a free license key to use our React components through our community license if you are eligible. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it helpful, like and subscribe to our channel.